Township Committee meeting for Monday, April 19th, 2021 to order. Please rise for the flag salute. Commander, would you like to lead us off?
Yes, sir.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, posting notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building and by publication in the Press of Atlantic City and the Star Ledger on January the 11th, 2021. Adequate notice of in-person attendance and live streaming with calling capability was provided by publication in the Press of Atlantic City and the Star Ledger on December the 16th, 2020. Mr. Cheek?
Here.
Mr. Gishard?
Present.
Mrs. Link?
Here.
Mr. Vitale?
Here.
Mayor Kane?
Here. At this moment, I'd like to ask you to join us in a moment of private reflection. All right, next we'll move on to proclamations. This evening, we have several for Atlantic County Veteran Service Officers and Southern New Jersey Veterans Community Outreach Specialists. I don't know who we can get up to the front of the room with. Maybe if we could get the professionals. Do we have Patrick Carney, Jacqueline Hinker, Maria Kanuska, Robert Frollo, and Alicia Kagan? Hello. How are you? First of all, on behalf of Township Committee, thank you for everything you do. Appreciate it. So I'll start off, whereas our beloved country, the United States of America, remains strong and free and guiding light for other countries through the sacrifice and dedication of members of our armed forces. And whereas those members of our armed forces who have served our nation are provided with certain medical, educational, and other needed services to aid them in their time of need. And whereas the Community Outreach Specialist for the Veterans Administration provides needed information and education for those enrolled or haven't yet applied for VA healthcare services. These navigational guides and advocates ensure that the unique care our veterans are handled on a personal level within the Veterans Administration healthcare services, and work with veterans group, advisory boards, caregivers, and families. Whereas the Veteran Services offers provide the state's veterans and their dependents with information and guidance in filing claims, assist veterans with issues pertaining to employment, education, burial, counseling, housing, social, and medical services, referrals and case management services regarding their legal rights and eligibility for services and service-related benefits. Now, therefore, we, the Township Committee of the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey, on this day, April 19, 2021, do hereby honor the following individuals. From the Department of Veteran Affairs, Wilmington VA Medical Center, Southern New Jersey Veterans Community Outreach Specialist, Patrick Carney. Jacqueline Hinker. From the Atlantic County Veteran Services offers Maria Kanuska. Did I get that right? Good. And Robert Frollo. Okay. And from the New Jersey Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, Veterans Service Officer Alicia Kagan. In grateful appreciation for their outstanding dedication, commitment, and service to the needs of our Township of Hamilton veterans and their families. Thank you.
behalf of Atlantic County Veteran Services, we'd like to thank everybody for their hard efforts, for acknowledging all the hard efforts that we put out for all of our veterans and their families, and we will do so in continuation. And once again, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
All right, next we'll move on to one, addition and deletion of late agenda items to be considered for action tonight, and we are going to add 8J. It is a resolution authorizing advancement of preliminary engineering for construction of a new spillway and related improvements to Lake Lenape Dam, including authorization of a memorandum of agreement with the County of Atlantic and application for federal funding assistance. So moved. Have a motion?
second.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Next, early public comment on agenda items, excluding items listed for public hearings. Do we have anyone in the public that would wish to speak on agenda items, excluding items listed for public hearings? If so, please unmute yourself.
The public is speaking up, Mr. Mayor.
I make a motion to close early public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, next we'll move on to 3, the 2021 budget. First, we will do a resolution authorizing the budget to be read by title only. Arch, could you just, for the public's...
Sure. What this does is, so you don't have to go through the whole budget and read everything, you can just read it by the title itself.
Make a motion to move 3A.
There is a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
This is a public hearing on the 2021 municipal budget. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to comment? If so, please unmute yourself.
No one from the public is speaking up, Mr. Mayor.
I'll entertain a motion to close.
I'll move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Public hearing's closed. I believe that's all we need on this tonight, right?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Leon, thank you for being here.
yeah, and we'll be back at some point in time, once we find out what we can do with the stimulus money, to present a resolution for whatever that's going to be. And then you'll adopt that same night.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Leon. Thank you, Cynthia. All right, next, we have no discussion items. We'll move on to 5. This is a public hearing, adoption of ordinances. First, we have 5A, which is an ordinance 1955-2021, capital ordinance providing for the 3rd Street roadway improvements by and in the Township of Hamilton in the County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey, appropriating $800,000, therefore $450,000 from the Capital Surplus Fund and a $350,000 grant from the New Jersey Department of Transportation to pay for the cost thereof. Since this is a public hearing, is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak on this item? If so, please unmute yourself.
No one from the public is speaking up, Mr. Mayor.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. It's going to be nice to see that project get started. Second, we have B, Ordinance
Did we vote on
1956.
that?
Yeah, you
Excuse
have to
me. You closed public comment, but you didn't really vote to pass the...
We didn't do a roll call.
You didn't.
We get a roll call?
You need a
Your
motion.
You need a
and a
motion.
second. And a roll
Motion to
call.
pass.
We have a motion to pass. Do we have a second?
Se-
Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Patali?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
All right, now we'll move on to B. Ordinance 1956-2021, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a preservation easement with the New Jersey Historic Trust. This, again, is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the public that would wish to speak on this item? Please unmute yourself. Motion to close public.
So moved.
Is there somebody trying to speak, or?
I thought somebody was on the line.
This is Taylor Derleth. I was just going to introduce the ordinance.
This is the attorney from Maley Givens,
Oh, okay.
just in case you had any questions. That's it.
I make a motion to move to close public comment.
Motion?
Second.
Motion to second. Now we need a motion to, all in
Yeah.
favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Any discussion?
I'll make that motion to move 5B.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Rita, could we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Patali?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
Next, we'll move on to 5C. This is ordinance 1957-2021, an ordinance dedicating and accepting for permanent maintenance certain streets in the Tavistock at Mays Landing Homeowners Association Development in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, and State of New Jersey. Again, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak? If so, please unmute yourself.
From the public is speaking up, Mr. Mayor.
Committee?
Make a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. What's your pleasure, committee?
Make the motion moving ordinance 1957-2021.
There is a motion.
Second.
There is a second. Rita, could we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Patali?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
6, introduction of ordinance. We have none. Awards, bids, and contracts. We have none. We'll move on to the consent agenda. We have items A through J. Committee, what's your pleasure?
Could I have a little discussion on C?
All right, so I'll amend that to A and B and D through J.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'll make that motion.
Motion? Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Ms. Link, the floor is yours.
I just wanted a sort of a more of an explanation of what this involves. Could Arch explain it to me?
What item are we?
The C,
Discussing
resolution
C.
authorizing
C? Okay.
and directing a proposed amendment to the planning board to evaluate and advise the township committee with respect to adopting an amendment to those ordinances allowing the planning board to review and render decisions concerning all appeals from the Historic Preservation Commission, not just those appeals dealing with certificates of appropriateness.
What happened in this case was that we have an extensive ordinance that deals with the historic preservation. And we had a unique situation come up where there was a hearing before the historic preservation, and they rendered a ruling. And they determined that they wished to appeal that ruling. And their thought was that they would appeal it to the planning board. The solicitor for the planning board reviewed the ordinance in the Municipal Land Use Act and rendered an opinion to the planning board that their appellate jurisdiction is limited only to a certificate of appropriateness decision and did not apply to other decisions of the planning board, such as classification and declassification. There was a dialogue with respect to this, and the Township Committee at the last meeting determined to put forth a resolution for all of your considerations to expand the jurisdiction of the planning board to hear all appeals from the HPC, not just those that dealt with a certificate of appropriateness.
Okay. So then, do they come up with a conclusion and then pass it on to the township committee? Is that the idea?
Well, under the existing ordinance, for a certificate of appropriateness, the planning board would make a decision, and depending on what that decision was, it would come back here and either be embodied in a ruling of the governing body or not. But in this particular case, it will apply to all decisions of the HPC, which are ultimately appealed to the planning board.
Now, does that include all the pocket, designations or?
It does not delineate what it applies to. It delineates what is the substance of a decision emanating from the HPC and whether or not the planning board has jurisdiction to hear the appeal of it. So it's not breaking out the village, it's not breaking out the pockets. It's dealing with all the decisions that are presented to the HPC and are ultimately appealed to the planning board.
Okay, so in other words, it won't stop at the, as a decision by the HPC, it'll go on to the planning board.
If this is approved, any decision of the HPC that affects a person, an owner, would be appealable directly to the planning board.
Okay,
Right now, there is a question as to what is the limits of the jurisdiction of the planning board to hear those appeals.
okay, so it's opening up the ability of the planning board to hear those appeals. Or-
If approved tonight, yes.
Okay, all right.
Is there any other discussion? Ready?
I make a motion to move 8C.
There is a motion and a second. Rita, can I
Yep.
take a roll call on this one, please?
Okay. Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes,
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Next, we will move on to personnel. Item A, regretfully, accept the resignation of Arch Liston, Township Administrator, effective April 23rd, 2021. Arch, is there anything you might want to say or anything? You
No, I was just going to say under the administrator's position, but I've been offered an opportunity to go for a challenging position that kind of will wrap up my career in public administration. I do want to thank the committee, and I do want to recognize the employees of the Township of Hamilton for the period I've been here between the COVID and their service to the community. I think you've got an outstanding group of employees here. I was proud to work with them during the process, totally supportive of the administration and totally supportive of the committee. And I think that in the short and long term, I think that Hamilton Township is just going to be a great place to live and great place to thrive for people. It's just an outstanding community, and you're very, very fortunate to have these people that work here. Thank you.
Albeit short, we thank you for the time that you did spend here. Committee?
I think Arch has done an outstanding job, and I'm sad to see him go. And I know that we're going to it's going to be difficult to replace him, but we will do our best.
And I wish you the best.
Thank you, Red.
New challenge.
Committee?
Motion.
I'll make the motion to accept the resignation.
Second,
There is a motion and a second. Rita, could we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek,
Yes.
Mr. Gishard,
Yes.
Mrs. Link,
yes.
Mr. Batali,
Yes.
Mayor Kane.
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Item B, I would request a motion to table item B.
I'll make that motion.
There is a motion.
I'll second.
Second. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek,
Yes.
Mr. Gishard,
Yes.
Mrs. Link,
Yes.
Mr. Batali,
Yes.
Mayor Kane.
Yes.
All yes and carried.
9C, resolution appointing Nicole Koch as Clerk 3 in the Office of Community Development at $34,578.12 annually, effective 4/26/21, contingent upon successful completion of employment, physical, and background check. And just for committee's point of interest, this does not add the head count. This is replacing a vacant position.
I'll motion.
Second,
Motion second. Roll call, please, Rita.
Mr. Cheek,
Yes.
Mr. Gishard, Mrs. Link,
yes.
Mr. Batali,
Yes.
Mayor Kane.
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Next, we will move on to approval of minutes. First, we'll take the regular meeting minutes of April 5th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Excuse me,
Oh, I can't say aye.
Judy, you need to abstain.
Yeah, I have to
I
abstain.
was going to get there for you, but, so we have 4 ayes, 1 abstention. Next, we have 10B, minutes for the executive session meeting minutes of April 5th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Rita, could I get a roll call on this, please?
Mr. Cheek,
Yes.
Mr. Gishard,
Yes.
Mrs. Link,
Abstain,
Mr. Batali,
Yes.
and Mayor Kane.
Yes.
4 yes, 1 abstention, motion carries.
Next, we have the approval of the bill list. My copy, even though I went through the bill list today, I have it here with me, does not have the total on it. I believe it was 5 million, if I know when I went through it.
So it's on-
Does somebody else have one with the,
I do.
would you read that into the record, please, Mr. Sanders?
$5,882,963.49.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to get it wrong, so we didn't. We have the total. Committee, please.
so moved.
We have a motion and a second. Rita, could I get a roll call?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Batali?
Yes.
And Mayor Kane.
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, next we'll move on to reports. Mr. Administrator.
All I have is what I wrote in the report, and just thank you very much for the time and energy.
Appreciate that. Mr. Solicitor,
Nothing to report.
Mr. Engineer.
Yeah, Mayor and Committee, I just have a few items. The first on my report is the Lake Lenape Dam. You may recall, we spoke about 4 weeks ago, Jeff Van Drew came down to do an inspection and get up to speed on the dam. And that was the good work of Carl Patali. Some other things have occurred. I think maybe Carl should talk about some of the important strides that he's made when he gives his presentation. So things are going very well. Cotton Mill Bridge, I was there last week. The utilities are coming along nicely. The domestic water and the sewer are connected. Gas line is going in this week. If you recall, before the bridge started, they had to construct a temporary utilities bridge. Well, now we're at the point where the temporary utilities are now being transferred through the bridge structure itself. And what that allows is the continuation of the entrance slabs to the bridge, and things are moving along very nicely. So again, I'll report that the bridge is on schedule, hopefully a little ahead of schedule. Atlantic Avenue Road reconstruction, that will begin this Thursday. It's about a 3.5-week project. They're replacing curbing in some locations, handicap access ramps, and reconstructing from the post office down to the jail. I want to report on New York Avenue Bridge. The county has completed all the necessary survey work, the geotechnical work. They hired a bridge engineer. So the county, we're communicating with them often. I know Carl Patali communicates with them, and we're just trying to have them move New York Avenue Bridge reconstruction on or ahead of schedule the best we can. Last item is the Public Works pole barn. We're to the point where contracts are being signed right now, and I'm expecting construction to begin the middle of next month. So that pole barn, we'll see that constructed sometime in the May to June period of time. That completes my report. Any questions, I'm happy to answer.
When do you predict the bridge will be done?
They initially, that's a good question. The Cotton Mill Bridge official construction completion date is, I think it's September 21st, I recall. I don't like making predictions, but it should be sometime in the middle of the summer is what they're telling me.
Oh, okay. Nice.
We're going to hold you personally responsible for that.
What
Can we
does
get an
middle of the
exact
summer
date?
mean?
Anything else, Steve?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. And then move on to Township Committee members. Mrs. Link?
I'm pleased to see the addition of the Lenape Park, the resolution authorizing advancement of the preliminary engineering for construction of a new spillway and related improvements. It's been a long time coming, and I'm anxious to hear what Carl has to say. And I like the idea that federal funding assistance may be forthcoming, because that's what we should see. I've been looking into the idea of Lake Lenape. The Egg Harbor River is a wild and scenic river. It has a designation, and so therefore I see the federal funding is very much part of that whole scenario. So that's great. And as I said before, Arch has done a very good job. It's sad to see him go, but things move on. And I was going to say, the last time I was not here, I was on the second day of my second vaccine, and I'm sorry, but I slept through this meeting. And I slept almost for 24 hours, but I'm good to go now. And the second vaccine for me, was a little bit more trying than the first one, but We're good to go. We're good to fly here and there. We're good to go. So both my husband and I. And that's it.
Deputy Mayor?
Well, yeah, about the only thing really different about the dam than what was talked about at the last meeting was just we're getting letters together from different entities, from businesses to help out with the grant. That is feverishly happening with the help of Brett and Steve and some other people that are reaching out and getting letters done. They are also going to have what's the other thing that we're going to put online just to get anybody's signature on it? Yeah, just a petition. That should be forthcoming. It'll be, I'm sure, once it comes out, we'll get it on our website. We'll spread it out as far as wide as possible to get as many signatures as possible. I mean, it's telling the federal government that, hey, these are all the people that are worried about this, and we need to get this done. We need to get this fixed. So anybody that's out there that's hearing me right now, please keep an eye out for that. And, we could use your signature on that.
Will that be on the Hamilton Township?
We'll get it on
website?
there somehow. I don't know how, but we'll figure it. I'm sure somebody will figure out how to get it on there.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get it on there. As soon as we're waiting for the grant writer to take care of that.
Okay.
Their people are doing that. So it's coming along. It's coming together. It's Congressman Van Drew has put this on the top of his list of things to get done with all these grants that are coming out. So, fingers crossed that we get some money. Weather's getting better. I wish it would get better faster. The rowers are out on the lake every Saturday. And it's really enjoyable to see the lake coming along and people out there enjoying it again. More and more kayakers every day. So get out there and enjoy everything that we have around this town between the river and the lake and everything else. Come out and enjoy it. And that's really all I have to say. Reagan, Maddie, miss you. Love you. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Carl. Mr. Cheek?
My comments are on the lighter side. This weekend, I had the opportunity to throw out the first pitch for the Mays Landing Falcons 10 and under baseball team. Highest pressure pitch I ever had in my life.
Right?
I got it over the plate in the air.
Nice.
Okay.
I understand there's been some phone calls to town hall to recruit you.
Uh-oh, watch out. Anyway, I must say, what a well-run organization. Those young kids represented our town in the best way possible. The coaches represented them perfectly. The field looked great. Everything was a first-class operation for that U10 team, with the fact that every kid on that team is from Hamilton Township. It's not like they're recruiting from anywhere else. It was just a great pleasure to see how great they were and how well they represented this township.
That's wonderful.
That's it. And I'm not pitching anymore.
What are you pitching?
Mr. Sharp?
Yeah, that was good news about the sports team. I went last today.
Okay. I have a few things. One of the things, it's nice to see, we did announce, and I appreciate the job that the Green Team has done, signing up 10 new groups for the Adopt the Road program. That's wonderful. Anytime we can help those organizations out and clean up our roads, that's a wonderful thing. So great job to them, and I don't know if this is from us expanding that or if it's just something that they're actively doing, but it's a fantastic thing. So the next thing is the Cove. Obviously, it's that time of year, and we're looking forward to seeing the Cove open. And season tags right now for 2021 are on sale, and they are discounted if you purchase them by April 30th. So the number to call for purchasing them ahead of time for an added discount is 609-625-2700, extension 592. So if you want to take advantage of a discount to enjoy our beautiful Cove and the lake, please call that number and purchase your discounted tags ahead of time. The next thing I have is just want to remind the township that the historic survey Phase 2 is about to begin. The survey is to update the previous 1987 survey to document historically and architecturally significant resources throughout the township. This survey is completely funded through a grant with the state of New Jersey. We had spoke about that several meetings ago. Phase 1 was completed in fall of 2020. That phase is actually up on the township website for anyone that wants to view it. The research for Phase 2 will begin next week and will continue through May. That area for Phase 2 is properties on the west side of Main Street from Mill Street down to Gaskell Park. Property owners have been notified by mail that the surveyors will be in the area in the upcoming weeks. Anyone with questions, please feel free to contact the administrator's office. And if you have any questions, and I do have a copy of the letter that was sent out to the residents that are impacted by that. That is all I have for this evening. Everyone, please be safe. I know everybody's anxious to get out and do things, and just still be safe, be conscious of the fact that we're still dealing with a pandemic, but hopefully we continue to ease through the tail end of this thing and get back to some normalcy by late summer or fall. So with that, Rita, I do believe we are going to now open it up to public for public comment. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak? If so, please unmute yourself and speak.
No one from the public is speaking up, Mr. Mayor.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll make the motion to close public comment.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion, public comments closed. Now I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session. We will reconvene in public where possible action may be taken.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Rita?
Be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Hamilton that this meeting be adjourned to an executive session to discuss the following matters which are exempt from public discussion pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, discussion of the recruitment process in which to find a replacement for the Township Administrator position, personnel, and reopening Town Hall and Township meetings to the public, tactics and techniques utilized in protecting the safety and property of the public. Be it further resolved that the governing body will reconvene in public session to confirm the results of the executive session. Be it further resolved that the results of said executive session shall be made known as soon as the basis for confidentiality is no longer confidential.
All right. With that said, we will reconvene executive session. Chief, could you stick around? All right, I will entertain a motion to reconvene in public session from executive session on Monday, April 19th, 2021.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we are
Mr.
back in
Mayor, I
session.
just want to report that the time now is 8:45. I walked into the vestibule, I checked the men's room, I didn't check the ladies' room. I checked the outdoor front.
All right, so with that, we are going to go back to number 13, which is executive session. Item A, discussion of the recruitment process in which to find a replacement for the township administrator position. With respect, I will entertain a motion to advertise for hiring a township administrator as designated by the Personnel Committee.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
There is a motion and a second. Rita, could we get a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard? Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
The second motion I will entertain is the hiring of a business administrator to serve at the pleasure of the governing body that the Personnel Committee shall recommend.
So moved.
Second.
Rita, once again, can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes. And just for the record, for the public, the Personnel Committee consists of myself as mayor and Deputy Mayor Carl Vitale. With that, we will move on to,
You have the other thing.
we don't have to open or anything, right, Bob? We're good with that? Okay. Next, we will move on to B, reopening of Town Hall and the Township to the public. With that, I will entertain a motion as of May 3rd's meeting, so it's properly advertised, that we will reopen the Township meetings live here and in person, to be videotaped previously done prior to the pandemic, and then broadcast at a later date on YouTube. And in the anticipation of a meeting or an item on the meeting that would exceed room capacity, it would be advertised in advance that that would be a hybrid, as we've done throughout the process with the pandemic procedures that we've done by live streaming it and allowing people to call in and attend in person.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
The second motion that I will entertain is for the clerk to notice all the boards, our volunteers, for discussion item on their next meeting to report back to Township Committee of their individual wishes for their boards on whether or not they would like to follow the direction of Township Committee and/or continue to go in the manner in which they are. This is totally out of respect for the volunteers, the great volunteers we have in this town.
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Rita, again, could I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Moving on in that same vein, the third motion I will entertain is the reopening of Town Hall to the general public once the safety and procedure protocols are in place, which we anticipate should be no longer than 1 month. What this means is that the public will then once again be able to come into the building and conduct their business in the building.
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Bob, do we have to open to the public? Or?
Yep.
All right. I will entertain a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak? If so, please unmute yourself.
Make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Meeting adjourned. Thank you, committee. That was a tough, heavy lift. You did a great job.